Welcome. You're listening to John Hyman from Commercial Real Estate Online. The website to contact us is commercial-realestate-training.com. At that website, you'll get plenty of tips, tools, and ideas relating to commercial real estate brokerage, sales, leasing, and property management. Indeed, if you haven't visited the website before, here is the website. We share a lot of ideas relative to sales, leasing, and property management every day. And during this week, for example, we have loaded a number of charts, and here is one of them here, which is tenant questions relating to leasing a property. And that is a wall chart for download. So that's the website. You can get those ideas from our online service at commercial-realestate-training.com. So now let's get on with the program and let's have a look at conquering call reluctance. Certainly in commercial real estate today, call reluctance can be a very big problem. It can hold you back from achieving your progress as an agent or as a broker. And to deal with that, cold calling and telephone prospecting involves a disciplined and systemized approach. So why do you need to do this? Well, you need to build a personal profile in your marketplace as an agent. In that way, people start to remember you as someone that they can use when it comes to selling or leasing or managing their asset. Of course, the cold calling process will also help you connect with more potential clients that you can service in the local area. And I would imagine that your area is quite competitive when it comes to real estate agents and commercial real estate agents looking for listings. So the cold calling process can help you with that. And of course, lastly, I should say that cold calling, when successfully and diligently undertaken, will help you find more listings. That is, listings relating to your property type and your location. And that's exactly what you want. So that's the why part of the program. Now let's have a look at the early stages of cold calling and the sorts of issues that you will strike. So, in the early stages of cold calling, you will actually have some frustrations to deal with. You'll also have to relate to some new skills because it doesn't come easy. It's a very skillful process to make cold calls to people that you haven't spoken to before. And of course, you'll get some rejection from people. Perhaps they don't want to talk to you, perhaps they don't want to meet with you. Either way, you'll get some rejection. So don't let these things hold you back. Learn the skills of prospecting and cold calling. You can and will find many new clients to serve, and that's exactly what commercial real estate is all about, finding the people to serve and then providing them with exceptional services. So let's look a bit further here. The intentions and the actions. You can have all the good intentions in the world as far as making the calls, but action is far more important. Intentions without actions is really a waste of time. So if you intend to do what is required in making those cold calls, you really do need to create the actions every day to create progress and to improve your skills. So let's look at that a bit more. When you first start making those cold calls, all your best intentions and actions will be frustrated by people that really don't want to talk with you. Or perhaps they don't want to meet with you. That is the nature of the process. That's what happens when you make lots of cold calls. So what do? You make more calls. You don't stop. You simply make more calls. And of course, the rejection should not be a hindrance to your progress or momentum. You simply start to become comfortable with talking to people that you haven't spoken to before. That's what making more calls actually achieves for you. Many agents, on the other hand, will actually stop when they go through these two barriers. If people don't want to talk to them or they don't want to meet with them, then simply they stop, and they usually say that cold calling doesn't work. Well, of course, that's wrong. The agent in those situations really doesn't have the skills to improve and to build more conversational technique in making those calls. So the message is, make more calls. And of course, from that, you can learn the skills. Learning the skills of cold calling involves practice. So if the commercial real estate market is for you, be it in sales, leasing, or property management, it's time to learn the skills of cold calling. Door knocking, connecting with new people, making telephone calls to people that you haven't spoken to before. That's what it's all about. So let's go back a bit here. And now let's move on to the conversations that improve results. So let's say that you're ready to make the calls and talk to a lot of people. Be prepared for that rejection factor to occur, because it will. And focus on creating conversations. That's what it is all about. Conversations will lead you to the valuable information about the needs and the interests of the client or the prospect relative to commercial real estate today. The conversational approach to cold call prospecting allows you to build rapport in a non-threatening way. It's not a pitch, it's a conversation. Remember that. Build your skills through practice in creating telephone conversation. Don't pitch. The pitch is not something that you do across the telephone. In fact, if you try to do that, you simply won't get the meetings, and that's where everything starts to fall apart. So top agents make lots of calls, and that's exactly what I want you to do. So here are some specific strategies to help you with the cold calling process and if call reluctance is a problem for you. So firstly, number one, get comfortable with the process. At the very start of cold calling, feel comfortable with contacting people that you have not spoken to before. To help you get started, create a simple script to get that rapport, to build that relevant conversation. Eventually you won't need a script, but what you should have initially is perhaps 2 or 3 sentences to introduce yourself and ask a few simple questions relating to their property needs or their activities. Remember, this is not a pitch for new business, but rather a conversation to understand the client and their property needs. Be prepared for the variations of conversation across sales, leasing, and property management topics and requirements. And of course, be prepared for the fact that the person will probably reject your first approach. That is why the conversation can take you further. So, number 2. Practice is the fast track. Practice will help you fast track your results and the confidence that you need in making lots of calls. Devote 30 minutes a day to practicing your simple opening script. Confidence will develop in this way. That practice can occur when you first arise every morning and before you leave for the office. Start practicing your calls, your conversation, your simple script. Very soon you won't need a script, but perhaps for the first 3 or 4 weeks you may need a simple script. So let's look at number 3. Call confidence. As I've said right through this video, call confidence is the key to a good conversation. The local property market information will also help you in that conversation. In saying that, you can build cold call confidence quite easily by using a telephone headset and standing up when you're making your calls. Now that sounds perhaps strange. However, stand up behind your desk and continue that strategy through all of your calls. It will give you a lot more confidence and your dialogue for conversation will be significantly improved. It's a known fact of psychology that your conversational ability is escalated when you stand up. Only sit down for brief periods during the called contact time if you really do need to rest. However, you should be making your cold calls over a period of say 2 hours. There's nothing wrong with standing up during that time. Now this simple strategy of standing up puts tonality into your voice, confidence in the conversation, and helps your telephone dialogue flow. You are less defensive when you're standing up and more conversational. That then leads to a better call result, both in message and understanding, and hence that will allow you to meet with more people, to connect with more potential clients that may need your services in the future. So let's say that you achieve momentum through this barrier. You are actually getting some results. The next stage of the process is to track and measure. Track and measure particularly the ratios and the results that you achieve with making your telephone calls. Over time, the ratios should improve. The numbers to track include calls made out every day, meetings created from those calls, and listings generated. Now, I would expect an agent to make 30 to 40 cold calls every day. 50% of those calls should be to new people that the agent has not spoken to before. The other 50% of those calls should be to people that have been spoken to before. So what you're doing there is creating momentum with new people and current people. In saying that, in making 30 to 40 calls, you should achieve at least 2 meetings per day with new people. It's the face-to-face process that actually achieves momentum, allows you to connect with new people and of course convert listings over time. From 2 new meetings per day, you should be able to generate 1 listing per week. Of course, your conversions over time will improve. That's why you track and measure. Initially, these numbers may seem a bit scary, but they are very achievable once you start practicing your processes, improving your dialogue, and creating conversation from the calls that you make. So on that basis, you will need to be very organized and you will need the support of a contact process with a database. That database software will help you stay ahead of the conversations that you create and the leads that are generated. So make sure you have a database and a computer running alongside of you as you make those outbound calls. If you can't have the computer there, then have a simple template in written form that you can complete and enter into your database at a later time. So that's the summary of the cold calling process, and particularly the stages to help you solve cold call reluctance. Reaching out to new people through cold calling and also door knocking is a relatively easy process when you establish your system and build your skills. Of course, in saying that, you need to create the conversation and also support it with your actual confidence to the process. So these 4 simple steps that I've just given you will help you with the momentum and the skill development that you really need. In this market, it's all about creating new listings, finding new clients, and of course converting deals and opportunities from sales, leasing and property management. And certainly you can do that when you know a lot more people. If you want to be a top agent in the property market today in your town or city, then cold calling will take you to that level of performance, to that foundation of results. So that's the end of this particular topic. It's a simple video to help you understand cold call reluctance and how to move through it. Of course, you can get many other tips, tools and ideas at our website, which is commercial-real-estate-training.com. We put out plenty of tips, tools and ideas, templates, charts and recordings at that website. And again, for your information, here is the website here. It's Commercial Real Estate Online. The website is commercial-real-estate-training.com. And whilst you're there, download a few of the charts. And as I said before, here is a very good chart relating to a leasing agent and the questions that you would ask tenants in questioning their ability or their intentions in leasing new property. Okay, that's the end of this video for today. My name is John Hyman. It's good that you can join us. Of course, we like to hear from you, and if indeed you would like to send us an email or ask us some questions, send the email to support@commercial-real-estate-training.com. That's the end of the video. I look forward to talking to you again very soon. And of course, subscribe at our YouTube channel. Catch you next time. This is John Hyman signing off for now.